Hi everyone, Ryan here from Fight Game Analysis, and today we're going to be talking about the upcoming fight between Alistair Overeem and Alexander Volkov. If you've been enjoying the content, please go ahead and click on the like button and also subscribe to the channel. Really appreciate your support. Alright, so big fight coming up here in the heavyweight division this Saturday. Alistair Overeem versus Alexander Volkov. We've got number 5 versus number 6. So big matchup for the division. Either one of these guys, whichever one comes out with a win, both of them are going to be positioned really well for a shot at the heavyweight title, potentially coming up. I mean, right now we've got Miocic versus Ngannou in the rematch. But you've also got John Jones coming into the heavyweight division. Big name, fresh blood. You know he's going to be looking to get matched up against somebody who actually matters, somebody who's in the top 5, who can propel him. He doesn't want to come in and just fight like a no-name guy. So either one of these guys would be positioned for that fight, something I'm sure they would both be interested in should it get presented to them. Let's start out. Let's take a look at Alistair Overeem. Now, I don't know about you, but man, I've been a fan of Overeem for a long time. Guy is a true veteran of the sport, fought a who's who, been everywhere, done everything. There's only one thing missing from his resume, and that is the UFC gold. Right? I mean, he's a K1 world champion, former Dream world champion, Strikeforce world champion. One of only 2 guys to win an MMA world title and a K1 world title. Only got to hold 3 belts consecutively. I mean, the man is credentialed through the roof, and he's fought basically everybody. Anybody who was there while he was fighting, he eventually stepped into the ring with him. Man, Overeem has done it all. Super impressive. And one of the things that I really like the most about him, something that really stands out to me as a true, I consider myself a fight aficionado, and that is the way he's been able to reinvent himself. It's really the mark of somebody who's great. When you think of, you go to other sports, guys like a Michael Jordan or a Peyton Manning. These are guys who had to reinvent their game as they got older to continue to stay relevant, continue to be able to succeed. They couldn't necessarily do what they did when they were younger. And it was the same thing with Overeem. I mean, you remember this guy, remember when he was Overeem, muscles coming out of his ears? Remember when he earned the nickname the Demolition Man, when he came out there and just tried to tear through everybody? There was a time when it worked, and then there was a time when it didn't. Remember when he stepped in there against Travis Brown or Bigfoot Silva, and he tried to just blow through him. And all of a sudden it was like the gas tank just went from full to empty in the drop of a dime. And then he turns around and gets smoked himself and gets knocked out. I mean, it didn't look good for him at one point when things like that were happening. I was questioning a long time ago, how much time he had left in his career. And then he comes off these 2 nasty knockouts. One to Francis Ngannou when he looks like he's almost going to get decapitated. And you got the other one to Curtis Blades when he gets the ground and pound and gets some elbows and some punches. Head bounces off the canvas. I mean, it didn't look good. He's already getting older. I thought, man, this is kind of it. That was 5 fights ago. Then he comes in against a young guy, Sergei Pavlovich. Looks good. Does exactly what he's supposed to do. Uses his fight IQ. Plays the role of the sniper. Controls distance well. Eventually gets a takedown, gets some ground and pound, gets him out of there. Comes in against Olenek. Now, I'll be the first to admit that Olenek is a little bit limited as a fighter. What he does, well, he does really well. But not exactly the most well-rounded guy, not exactly the most dangerous striker you're ever going to meet. But Overeem did exactly what he was supposed to do. Weathered a little bit of an early storm, and then eventually was able to get him out of there. Looked good while he did it. Next fight, steps in against Jairzinho Rozenstruik, who is a very accomplished striker in his own right. Okay? And Overeem wins, 99% of that fight. Now, the part that he didn't win, the last 5 seconds, it was brutal. One of the most impressive, or one of the nastiest knockouts, I'll put it that way. One of the nastiest knockouts you'll see in a long time. But think about how much of that fight that he won. And he did it by utilizing his fight IQ, playing to his strengths, and utilizing the skills that he's supposed to. I mean, he knows how to fight. He doesn't have to go out there and do it the same way that he did when he was young. I love the way he controls the distance. He picks his spots, does exactly what he wants to. Love how he gets in the clinch now. When he gets in the clinch, he's got the beautiful knees. We've known about those for a long time. When we saw him, he's utilized them recently against Olenek and against Pavlovich. We've seen those knees his whole career, probably the most impressive in the heavyweight division from inside of the clinch. But he also utilizes the takedowns more than he ever used to before. He gets in that clinch, and he's got some great trips that he uses. It's an all-around a really good game. After that loss to Rozenstruik, you think once again, oh man, here's another knockout loss on his record. Where does he go from here? He gets a young guy, Walt Harris. Guys, he's athletic, he's explosive, good power in that left hand. And once again, Overeem rises to the occasion, uses his fight IQ, withstands the early storm, lands his own shots, takes Walt Harris down. At that point, he's a fish out of water, gets him out of there. Gets Augusto Sakai in his next fight, another young guy. Overeem again plays the role of the sniper, picks his spots, controls the distance, and he won those exchanges. That was really impressive. Every time that he stepped in there, he was winning those exchanges. And I look at it, it's like he's just continuing to evolve. And this is really, really a good version of him that we see here. And then across the octagon from him, you've got Alexander Volkov. First time you see this guy on film, how can you deny anything other than think, man, that is a big guy, right? 6'7", 80-inch wingspan, huge guy in a division packed full of huge guys. And he comes from a traditional striking background. So that's where he likes to keep it. He does have a brown belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but you're never going to see him really go for the takedown. Doesn't like to be on the ground. If you see the fight on the ground, odds are it's probably not going too well for Volkov. That's not where he does his best work. What I like about him when I watch him fight is that he knows what type of fighter he is. He's big, he's tall, he likes to keep it at distance. He wants to maintain a range where he can hit you and you can't hit him. Works a good jab, works a good 1-2, little sneaky right hand that he likes to use that I like that he throws out there and catches with guys. He's got some good kicks in his arsenal. I mean, he looks good when he's a striker, but not great. He doesn't do anything that's great. He doesn't have great power, doesn't have great hand speed, doesn't have great footwork, doesn't even have great striking defense. I mean, we remember what happened in that fight with Derek Lewis. Wins basically the entire fight until the very end, and then Derek Lewis just hits him with that monster right hand. And he's able to do that because he has certain, Volkov has certain little flaws in his game. Doesn't have great head movement. Kind of like keeps his chin up and kind of likes to lean back. You're able to get away with that a lot the majority of the time when you're that tall, when you're that big. But that's a flaw. That's a flaw. You got to get your head off the center line. His footwork is good, but it's not great. Doesn't have this great upper body movement. He's got a good work rate, but it's not a great work rate. And, I mean, we all see what happens when he gets on his back, right? Fabricio Verdun was able to take him down, hold him down quite easily. Now, Volkov ended up winning that fight, but that was because in the rest of the fight, he was able to prevent a few of those takedowns, keep the fight where he wanted to keep it on the feet, and he was able to land his strikes. And then we saw Curtis Blades. I mean, he took him down and kept him down the entire fight whenever he wanted to. But again, you see him in this fight with Walt Harris. He does exactly what he's supposed to. He's the more experienced striker. Walt Harris is a better athlete. But Volkov's got that fight IQ. So he did what he was able to do, kept the fight where he wanted to keep it. He was able to get the win there. So, he's this guy that he does when he's able to fight the way that he wants to fight. When he's able to do what he wants to do, he looks good doing it. But if you can get him off his game, if you can get him somewhere where he's not quite comfortable, I don't think he's got a lot of gears to his game. Don't think he's got a lot that he can do that he's able to adapt. And like I said, when you get him on his back, he does look maybe a fish out of the water, a little bit too strong, but he's not going to threaten there. Doesn't have great submissions, doesn't have great hips. He's not going to be able to pop up, get to the cage and wall walk, and be a threat that way. So the question is, what's it going to look like when these two step in the octagon with each other? I got to be honest, this is a close fight, right? I can see why the Vegas odds makers have it the way they do. They've installed Volkov as just the slightest of favorites. I want to say he's like minus 125, minus 130 at the time I'm making this video. So let's say this was going to be a kickboxing match. Let's just say it was going to stay on the feet for the whole time, 5 rounds. It'd be really interesting. I mean, we all know how good Overeem is, super credentialed. Like I said, he likes to play the role of the sniper and pick his spots and control the distance, and he's good with that. And he's going to be able to win in spots. He's going to be able to get shots off against Volkov. But Volkov is tall, man. He's long. He does have a good jab and a good 1-2, and he's got some good kicks. Like I said, he doesn't have a great work rate, but it's better than Overeem's. He's going to get more done than Overeem. He does like to come forward. We've seen the way Overeem likes to shell up sometimes, put his back up against the cage and square up. All of that doesn't work well against a guy like Volkov. Volkov would probably win more of the exchanges. He'd look better more of the time. I think in a situation like that, he definitely have the chance of pulling out the victory. We know this isn't a kickboxing match; it's MMA, so you got to think about what's going to happen in the clinch, what's going to happen when they take it to the ground, and I think that's where he's going to have his advantage. We get into the clinch, we see those knees that he uses, some of the best ever, probably the best in the heavyweight division. He's going to be able to get in there, and he's going to be able to look good with that. When he's in the clinch, particularly if he's able to get in the clinch and push Volkov up against the cage like he likes, like Overeem likes to do, have Volkov's back against the cage. He's going to be able to get some good work done in there. And not only with the knees, but he's great with those takedowns. He's able to get his opponent, move him off balance, get him around a little bit, and get some nice trips. It's not traditional wrestling takedowns where he's coming in on a single leg or a double leg or something. He loves to do it, work those trips from the clinch, and I think he'll be able to get Volkov down there. And when he does, Overeem isn't some great submission threat either, right? Nothing like that. However, he'll be able to maintain top position. He'll be able to keep Volkov on his back probably as long as he wants to. When he's up there, he'll be able to land some good ground and pound. We've seen that recently in some of his fights. I think, he gets him down in the first round, the second round, whatever it is. When he gets him down for those rounds, he'll be able to win that round because he'll be able to keep him there the whole time. So he scores 2-3 takedowns. That's going to look really impressive on the judges' scorecard. And at the end of the day, that's why I'm taking Overeem in this fight. I'm going to take him. I think he'll be able to get the decision victory. And I think the difference is going to be what he's able to do inside the clinch and what he's able to get when he's able to get those takedowns and how he's able to keep Volkov on the ground and get some work done in there with the ground and pound. Now, he'll also look good at spots on the feet, staying at distance, throwing feints, playing the sniper and getting little shots off when he wants to here and there. So overall, I think this is going to be a good win for Overeem. I think it's going to put him in a good spot in the heavyweight division. What do you guys think? Is he going to be able to pull it out? If he does pull out that victory, where does it put him for his next fight? Or is Volkov going to be able to come out with the W? Kind of upset the apple cart a little bit, set Overeem back in his career, and who knows? Let me know what you guys think.